Hello there. Welcome back to Emprice Can Read, or to be more specific, Emprice Can Listen to Music and talk about Afrofuturism. I am indeed Emprice, and I can indeed listen to Afrofuturism. And today we're going to talk about Sun Ra, which I'd say if you don't know about, well, I wouldn't be surprised, but not to sound like a mega hipster douche. But yeah, you probably don't know about Sun Ra because he is this random avant-garde experimental jazz artist who probably had a cult. And he probably did some stuff that is a little shady, but that's okay. Because he's awesome, I have some Sun Ra CDs here. Sun Ra in the Orbit of Ra. Sun Ra and his orchestra. He doesn't, because he didn't have an orchestra. He had an orchestra, which is also actually a posthumous album. Kind of about his band living on his legacy, because Sun Ra is dead, but his orchestra lives on. Kind of like, and I wonder if bands nowadays will do that. The idea of like Earth, Wind, and Fire still performs and like half their members are dead, or like so many, even, actually, yeah, doesn't Linkin Park have a new singer? There's Linkin Park, right? God, it really is happening now. Well, bands just never go away. Well, just, replacements just kept getting, put in. Like, why isn't it, or maybe there is. Is there another Jackson 5 right now? And just there's a whole new set of Jacksons, and they just still play their same music, but like none of them are, whatever. I'm getting away from myself. Sun Ra and his orchestra again, jazz in silhouette. Why do jazz albums always have this, jazz and silhouette, like that kind of vibe about their naming. Sun Ra, languidity, also a cool word. Sun Ra, space is the place, and Sun Ra, the futuristic sounds of Sun Ra. Sun Ra is one of those guys who has, a bajillion albums, but unless you want to pay a fortune for vinyls and you're going to settle for CDs, and then realize that no one makes CDs anymore anyway, you probably won't have a lot, and it is pretty much impossible to acquire all of the of their work. Sorry, I'm just staring off into the distance at my desk. I have a really old desk here, a table thing desk, and I just found out about 20 minutes ago that it scratches very easily, because I was like, what the hell is this big mark on my table? And I was like, is that a scratch? And I just kind of like ran my finger over it. And I was like, no, that can't be. And I tried to like scrape it off with my fingernail. I thought it was just some crud. And I ended up scratching my table some more. And it's like, wow, did my mom's magic marker thing not work out on it like we thought it would? For reference, my mom bought this like a furniture marker set that had like, they're markers, keep in mind, that like one was like a mahogany, one was like a kind of lighter, red, kind of a, an ochre looking one, kind of like just different shades of like wood grain stuff. And they're supposed to, like, you find like a scratch or a crack in your wooden object, and you take your marker and you just color it in. And oh my god, it does not look good. Because my table not only is full of like scratches and marks, but it's full of marker splotches where those scratches and marks are, and it just looks even worse. It adds to the character of it. Anyway, we're not here to talk about markers. We're here to talk about Sun Ra. Sun Ra. If you ever want an interesting documentary, watch the documentary Space is the Place, like the album. And you'll see that he was this leader of this jazz band who they made, and it's not like, Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., kind of like, listening at a club in the 50s, while you eat a fine steak dinner, and you're entertained by these wonderful crooners. No, like Sun Ra is like 20 dudes in, crazy robes and dresses, screaming into their saxophone and, having people, chanting in the background and like crazy percussive instruments going off all around you. It was bizarre, right? And watching their performances is like totally unreal. Like after this video, or even just cut it off right now because you know I'm intolerable, look up some Sun Ra performances and just see what this guy's troupe does. And he was very much like a performance artist where he was always in character. He was always in character as Sun Ra, provided, you know, maybe he always just was Sun Ra and maybe his brain really is just that fried in general. But I don't think it was, because sometimes when he's saying his stuff, you can kind of see like a crack of a smile, like he's trying to hold back laughter, like he himself doesn't even believe what he's saying. And he's just trying to convince, you know, his troupe of performers, or maybe his audience members who do kind of believe him to be genuine. One instance in particular is he was talking about, like, I can't think of exactly how he was saying it, but it was like, you know, I am not a part of history because his story, I am not a part of history because history is his story, not my story. My story is a mystery. And he just kind of like smiles to himself. So like even he is like, man, what the fuck did I just say? But he's so interesting, and there's a lot of like cultural dialogue and subtext around his music as well. A lot of it, you know, it's Afrofuturism. He is obviously an African American man. His band is predominantly African American, and what he did, or what he claimed to want to do, is he wanted to build a spaceship and take all the black people from Earth and go to like Mars or another planet in general and start a planet, like a jazz planet for black people, just basically being like a paradise. And this is not me making this up, by the way. Watch Space is the place. It is wild. There's even some like kind of early age music videos, I guess, where like there's one where, you know, he's at like a desk, like an administrator, like a post office desk, and people are coming up to him and like interviewing for a place on his spaceship, you know, and he's just asking these crazy questions, and they're kind of like, you know, have these equally crazy, if not more crazy, responses as they're trying to, you know, get onto his, you know, his jazz flight or whatever. You know, he's a wild dude. And why I said earlier he definitely didn't have a cult is because his band, they all lived in like the same house, and it was a requirement, like to be in the band, that you had to live in this house with him, and that there was no sex, and like all was allowed. No sex was allowed. No drugs were allowed. You had to like play music all day, pretty much. You had to constantly be practicing. And you pretty much could do nothing else besides dedicate yourself to his band, to his orchestra. Which maybe that's not entirely true. The myth maker in me very much goes with that, and I do kind of just believe what I'm told, you know, from documentaries or interviews, or, you know, a lot of CDs back then, not fucking CDs now. CDs now are useless, but they'll always have little books on the inside, and the books will not only have like a track list, but they'll have like essays and whatnot about, you know, who these people were and what they were like. And I'm one of those assholes who will actually read the essays and be like, oh, that's so interesting, you know, because I'm an interesting guy too, and if I had an album, I would have an essay in it. But you need to check out Sun Ra's music because he is just incomparable in jazz. And he's someone who is referenced a lot more than you would think. You know, there was Sun Ra's on an MF Doom track, and I've been listening to MF Doom, you know, for, you know, probably since high school. And it was like the last time I had him in my car, you know, after I had discovered Sun Ra, where Sun Ra, they're rapping over a Sun Ra song, and you hear Sun Ra, you know, waxing poetic about space in the background, and it's like, oh my god, you know, he was here. And then one of the featured rap artists is, you know, rapping about Sun Ra, you know, and it's like, oh, like, other people know about this guy. That's really cool. I think there was even a Sun Ra reference on like either The Simpsons or Family Guy. I don't know. Sometimes YouTube will just recommend me random clips, you know, of course, based off of other things I looked at. And I was listening to a lot of Sun Ra, and then randomly it was either a Family Guy or a Simpsons clip came on where, you know, there was the Sun Ra, you know, joke. And it's like, oh, people who watch Family Guy know what Sun Ra is, you know, or whatever the hell. I've always been intrigued by Family Guy in the first place because it references so many, like, you know, just like abstruse things in general. And it's like the average person who watches Family Guy isn't fucking isn't listening to Sun Ra or any of the other things they reference. Like, you know, who is this show really for? I don't know. What I do like the most about Sun Ra, oh god, my dog has been activated. He's. Do you hear him? He's sensed something amiss in the world. Uh-oh. Hello? 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 He doesn't like when you say hello. Hello? 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 He'll bark himself out, it's fine. Dog City, man, it never sleeps. Are you done? Are you done? Is Buddy done? He's not done. We'll wait. We'll wait, buddy. Oh, he's coming now. He's mad. Yeah, you better get in here. Yeah, get up here. Talk about Sun Ra with me. Fucking dog. You know what this guy did this morning? W. Price was getting ready for work. She goes, oh, it smells like Oliver in here. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, he does. He does live in here. You know, he does sleep in this bed with us. And then, like, I kid you not, 10 seconds later, I just hear, oh, fuck. I'm like, oh, God, what happened? And this guy, in the middle of the night, which is surprising to us because usually he'll start gagging and we'll instantly, like, launch awake. But this guy puked on the corner of the bed. Keep in mind the exact corner, so it dripped all the way down. Oh, get out of here, buddy. It dripped all the way down on the mattress, on like the mattress pad, down to the box spring, through the box spring pad, and then through that all the way, you know, onto the floor. Like literally over like 5 different things that I had to clean up. And then she's like, I gotta go to work like right now because she was already like late. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm cleaning this. I don't know. It was fun. I wasn't thinking about Sun Ra at the time, mind you. But it has been cleaned. As much as it can. You cannot get. We have a fancy little dog vacuum cleaner. Not the vacuum cleaner that cleans dogs, but cleans things that dogs ruin, which is most everything in our apartment. And a man can only do so much. Anyway, I really like Sun Ra because he's really into the performative sort of having a persona, an artist as a persona to hide in your art. You know, why would M. Price like that? But he reminds me of like, you know, like that, like Eric Andre, like someone who's basically always in character every time they get on stage. It kind of makes me wonder, like, what was this guy like in real life? You know, when he wasn't in his weird cult house of musicians, because every time he's on stage, he's just always talking about these dreams and these visions and these ideas of this Afrofuturist paradise on Mars, you know, and music and art and what it means to be an artist and how do you evolve as a musician. And because obviously, like, he didn't just, you know, like he has songs like Space is the Place or Calling Planet Earth or that. Like, Calling Planet Earth is like a 20-minute song, and the first half of it is just them chanting, Calling Planet Earth, Calling Planet Earth, Calling Planet Earth, Calling, you know. And then towards the end, it just like spirals into like literal like cosmic horror space noises, you know. Like, it's just amazing, some of the stuff they have and how it like, and I'd play a little bit for you on YouTube, but I know that YouTube hates my fucking guts and doesn't let me have any fun on here, because anytime I try to do anything that other channels do, I get red flagged for it instantly. Which is why I hate you, YouTube. I hate your fucking guts. And so look it up yourself. Look up Sun Ra. Boost his algorithm too, you know. And it's just tremendous the stuff that they, you know, like how does someone think about this stuff? How does someone conjure up these ideas in their head and then transmit them into something that is digestible for an audience? You know, that's always sort of mystified me. You know, the conceptualization of something and its eventual execution, you know, like, and maybe it's just that. Maybe I just am attracted to people with these, well, I'm attracted to artists with these complex ideas that aren't so easily translatable, that I'm almost more interested in the translation, in the effort, than in the product itself, you know. And Sun Ra is just one of those people who, you know, whether they were good or whether they were bad, you can't deny they were always themselves. And throughout his oeuvre of music, yeah, some of his earlier work is just like, yeah, it's just a jazz band, you know, just something you listen to. But you can gradually see through his career how it evolves into the weirdness, into the bizarreness. And it's not just like, think about David Lynch, you know, R.I.P. Did you know he was the first person to buy my book? And maybe, I don't know. I've probably talked about that once or twice on this channel, probably 10 times. But you'd look at something like Twin Peaks, which, you know, the first 2 seasons of it, David Lynch, yeah, was like a producer. He was always involved, right? And he was always obviously a very, you know, heavy creative presence, but he didn't direct every single episode. He didn't write every single episode. So some of the episodes are like, they're just kind of weird for the sake of being weird. Whereas like when it is him doing it, or especially on season 3 where he had way more control, you can tell when it's David Lynch because he is weird with a purpose. There's something behind his, you know, for lack of a better term, you know, his quote unquote weirdness. You know, it wasn't just him goofing around. He actually had a profundity about it. And a similar thing, I think, is with someone like Sun Ra, where you can have anyone else just, you know, blaring nonsense, you know, like Yoko Ono. You can have someone like Yoko Ono just blaring nonsense, you know, while Chuck Berry's trying to play his, you know, his guitar solo, and everyone's like, what the hell is this? Except, of course, for John Lennon. But someone like Sun Ra, because he has this lore behind himself, because he has this epic mythical tale of, yeah, I'm Sun Ra, and I'm going to have my music group, and we're going to sail into outer space, and we're going to create this musical paradise, you know, where we can get away from the trials and tribulations and the disparities of our culture on Earth. You know, we're going to break free from our shackles, and we're going to find paradise in the vast infinity of the cosmos. You know, it's like, damn, son, yeah, sure, you know, let's do it, you know. And an artist like that, I think, is hard to come by. Someone who is just totally enmeshed in their work and surrounded by their work. And that's something that I aspire to be, most definitely. I don't think it's something that's easy per se. I mean, if you're living in this like in Sun Ra's position, there's never like an off day, you know. Like, I do wonder how tiring it is. I mean, maybe one day if I ever reach that kind of success where I don't have to, you know, work a day job, or I should just start a cult, is what I'm trying to say. You know, realistically, Dog City never sleeps. And all my Dog Cityans are going to drink the magical tea, and we'll all forget it. In short, Sun Ra, good. And you should listen to him. And you should watch whatever you can about this man, because he really is a real one. And he really is fascinating AF. Anyway, that's probably it for today. Go back into my hibernation. I just like to make these, you know, as I do. And there will be more writing news to come. I am approaching the end of the vomit draft of my sci-fi horror book. Not quite as sci-fi horror as this, as a intergalactic jazz federation. Maybe that was one of his ideas too. I don't know. God, my book does need some more jazz. Now that I think about it, I'll make a note. Here, insert random jazz-based character. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Why not? But until next time, I have been, am currently, and will always be M. Price. And this has been, and will continue to be M. Price Can Read. Though I may not always read, not saying that I have lost the ability to read, I still can, but I don't always like to. Sometimes I just like to listen to weird experimental jazz. I hope you have a great rest of your day, rest of your night, rest of your whenever you're experiencing this, and I hope you too can sail into the jazz cosmos. Until then, still Dog City Never Sleeps. I hope that you may sleep now, sure.